it's getting to a scary point with the Golden State Warriors. And listen, I understand. We already had about a half decade to almost a full decade. Well, I guess right now is the tail end of a full decade of pretty much just pure dominance from the Golden State Warriors as a franchise. And it's revolved around three guys really the whole time between Draymond, Clay, and Steph. And now that they have another splash brother in Jordan Poole, they have a new supporting cast around guys like Kevon Looney, around guys like Gary Payton II, Juan Toscano Anderson, Andrew Wiggins, who was an all-star. You know, this team, even compared to the team that won their first championship when it was Steph, Clay, Draymond, it was Festus Ezeli, it was Andrew Bogut. I think David Lee was on the team at that time. And then when you talk about the guards, it was Iguodala who won Finals MVP. It was, it was the Brazilian Blur. I forget what his Leandro Barbosa. That's what his name was. Like this team now, as it's constructed with its supporting pieces around those three guys, and those three guys are way better now than they were in that first championship season. And now that they have an even better supporting cast, there really is no reason to think that the Golden State Warriors are not going to win the finals this year, in my opinion. Now, you can look at it in a way that, the only way that you can try to take away from what the Golden State Warriors have done so far is you say, oh, well, the Denver Nuggets suck. And yes, they do suck. I think they're probably the worst supporting cast of any playoff team right now around an MVP candidate. And I think TNT showed the graphic last night that the second leading scorer for the Nuggets and Aaron Gordon has the worst point per game output of any second leading scorer in the NBA. That includes the worst teams in the NBA, like the Houston Rockets, like the Orlando Magic, like the Detroit Pistons, and like the Portland Trailblazers. So, yeah, I understand the point of the Denver Nuggets are a really bad team, and they don't have necessarily a full roster to be going against this lineup, especially the lineup when it's the new death lineup with Steph, Draymond, Clay, and Jordan Poole, and then insert whichever guy you think should be the fifth guy in the lineup, whether it's Wiggins, whether it's Looney, whether it's... I mean, they could mess around and throw in Kuminga, even though he hasn't played all playoffs yet. They could throw in Kuminga. They could throw in Juan Toscano Anderson. They could throw in literally anybody. Gary Payton. Like, they could throw in anybody. And so the point that I'm going to try to make here is, like, yes, the Denver Nuggets are not equipped to go against that lineup with the roster that they have right now. But who does? Who really does? I mean, we're looking at it, and it's probably a really good chance that the Golden State Warriors are going to face the Memphis Grizzlies in the second round. And you say, okay, well, the Memphis Grizzlies have really struggled against the Minnesota Timberwolves. And that's even with Karl Anthony Towns playing absolute trash over the first three games of that series. The Memphis Grizzlies were down 20-plus points multiple times last night. And even though they came back and won, like, I'm not just going to sit there and be like, oh, yeah, you're a good team now because you were losing multiple times last night by 20-plus points. Like, they still should have lost multiple games that they won so far in this series. And to be up 2-1 in the series right now, the Memphis Grizzlies should be counting their lucky stars, because if they were playing a team like the Golden State Warriors, not only would they not come back from being down 20 points, especially if it's in Golden State, they're not coming back from being down 20 points. I don't think they have a lineup that not only it can't match the death lineup 2.0 of the Golden State Warriors, but you just look at it, it's like, okay, Ja Morant has to cover Stephen Curry. Desmond Bane would have to cover Klay Thompson. Dillon Brooks has to cover probably Jordan Poole. At least, those three matchups in any way they end up happening, like whether it's Ja Morant on Poole, or whether it's Ja Morant on Steph, or whether it's Ja Morant on Klay, and then put Desmond Bane and Dillon Brooks on whoever you think their best matchup is. Okay, sure, Desmond Bane and Dillon Brooks are good defenders. They've never had to defend someone like Steph, Klay, and Jordan Poole in a playoff series. They've never had to do that. And not only have they never had to do it, In the regular season, those guys would get torched by those three. Like, it's not something that you are just going to look at as Memphis and you're like, oh, we got Steph Clay and Jordan Poole. Like, this should be an easy series. Especially if you're going to look at it. And between John Morant, Dylan Brooks, and Desmond Bane last night, who went 9 of 24 from 3, even though that's a decent percentage, you can't shoot decent against the Golden State Warriors. You have to shoot almost perfect to beat the Golden State Warriors. You can't be a good team and beat Golden State. Now, the other part of it is you're going to ask somebody like Jaren Jackson Jr., who is a vital piece of this Memphis Grizzlies team, to not foul out against Golden State, which I'm just going to set the over-under of 3.5 games that Jaren Jackson Jr. fouls out against the Golden State Warriors because, like, it's just going to happen. He does it almost every single playoff game he fouls out. And Kyle Anderson, his name is literally slow-mo. Against one of the quickest playing teams in NBA history, I don't want a guy whose nickname is slow-mo. And then when you look at the supporting cast off the bench, you know, it's Tyus Jones, it's Brandon Clark, it's Xavier Tillman, Zaire Williams, and DeAnthony Melton, and who knows if Steven Adams is going to end up playing. He's basically been yanked from this series against Minnesota, which is already something that you never want to do in the first round of a playoffs. It's just at this point, who against Golden State presents an actual matchup favor? You know, who does anybody have on their team that you're like, okay, I favor them over Steph Curry, or I favor them over Klay Thompson, or I favor them over even Jordan Poole as the third scorer of the team. You know, that's just the Golden State Warriors have gotten to this point of unstoppability, which is something that I love to think about. You know, when you present something that is unstoppable, you have this feeling around you that's not only affecting the confidence of the players that are the unstoppable guys, which in this case are the Golden State Warriors. Not only is their confidence so high, the confidence of the guys defending them is so low. This is why we're seeing the Denver Nuggets literally fighting between Will Barton and DeMarcus Cousins, which those two, like, I don't know why they're fighting, but you know, like, this is why what's happened to Denver has happened. Denver even had a favorable matchup with the centers. Between Nikola Jokic against fucking Kevon Looney and Draymond Green, Nikola Jokic has been pretty much dominating that matchup from game one. And even DeMarcus Cousins in the game last night had a really good stretch where I think he put up like 9 points in maybe 5 minutes. Like, he was playing really well as well, and then he traveled at the top of the key and got yanked immediately. So even looking past Memphis, even looking past the second round of the playoffs, which I think if Golden State goes against Memphis, it's going to be pretty much the exact same thing that's happening against Denver right now. Memphis would not be able to keep up Golden State. Memphis does not have the shooting of Golden State. Hell, they don't even have the playmaking of Golden State. Even with John Morant, between what Jordan Poole has presented as a playmaker, between Klay, between Draymond, between Steph, and between guys off the bench like not Juan Toscano, we understand, even though he's a good player, but like Gary Payton, you know, the system that Golden State has right now is, like I already said, it's unstoppable when all of these guys are playing at the way that they're playing right now. So looking past Memphis, whether it's Phoenix in the last round, whether it's, you know, who else could be in the last round? I think really the only other team that we could consider right now at the end, or could make the playoffs, not the playoffs, the finals in the West. I mean, it's Phoenix. I would think Dallas at this point if Devin Booker doesn't come back. But I mean, it's going to be either Phoenix or Dallas. And if it's Dallas, good luck. If it's Phoenix, even if it's Phoenix, good luck. Because Golden State, they have a better defense than Phoenix. You know, when it's rolling, Golden State's offense is just so high-powered and so efficient that it's like, okay, you know, we have nothing to stop you with. I think the point that I'll leave off on is, you know, this is something that Steph, Klay, and Draymond, this is what they've been wanting to get back to for almost 3 full years now. Ever since Klay Thompson tore his ACL, ever since Kevin Durant tore his Achilles in that finals against the Toronto Raptors in 19, This has been the spot that the Golden State Warriors, especially Steph, Clay, and Draymond, have wanted to get to for 3 years. They've been through the pandemic since the last time they were in the finals. They've been one of the worst teams in the NBA from a record standpoint since that NBA finals. And now they've developed and they've earned their way back, in my opinion, to being the number one favorite to win the NBA finals. The mentality of this team is unmatched by almost any other team in the NBA. The ability to shoot and play make on the offensive side of the ball is unmatched by almost any other team in the NBA. And at this point, I am setting it almost as a lock that they are going to win the NBA finals.